So in the preseason, when you're predicting the NBA, like, you're going to get plenty of stuff wrong. It's just, it's the nature of the business. You're going to think some teams are going to be great. They're going to suck. You think some teams are going to suck. They're actually going to be really good. So today we're going to look at who have been the biggest surprises in the NBA this season.
Yeah, every season it's got some big surprises. Some teams, it's a happy surprise. You did better than expected. Other teams, you just turned it off halfway through because you're shocked with how bad your team was.
Before we start talking about the biggest surprises of the NBA season, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. All right, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to go over some of the, bad surprises first. Teams that we thought were going to be pretty good this year and ended up disappointing us. And the second half of the video, be a bit more positive, talk about the teams that have exceeded expectations. And real quickly, just got to get it out the way. The actual biggest surprise of the NBA season is the Luka trade. We've just talked about it like 3 or 4 times in various videos over the past month and a half, and just kind of sick of talking about it at this point.
We've milked that thing to death. Yep. It's the one meme where, the farmers coming to milk that damn cow again. It's just stick thin. We got to give it up at some point.
So we'll start with Orlando, and we're not going to be too mean to them because really this is a team that's just been ripped to shreds by injuries. I mean, their top 4 scorers have all missed at minimum 20 games this season. That being said, it's hard not to be underwhelmed with a team that's at this point 6 games under 500 when they won 47 games last year.
Yeah, I remember at one point early in the season, things were going well. There was some optimism. We even were thinking about making a video on them, and then Paolo gets injured, and just ever since then, things have not gone well. And it is easy to blame the injuries, and of course that's been a big part of their problems this season, but they got some other issues. The Magic's bench is bottom half in scoring in the NBA. That was after they had a top 5 bench last year. Guys like Wendell Carter Jr. and Cole Anthony, they've kind of struggled. And KCP, which was seen as a very good free agent signing, maybe an overpay, but bringing in a guy, championship experience, veteran 3-and-D guy, dude has played like shit. Just straight up
second worst shooting season of his career.
Yeah, just hasn't looked like himself whatsoever after the past few seasons. Even going back to 2020, he's been a very key player for some championship teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's also some stats out there that indicate that the Magic might actually be better off without Paolo Banchero. I mean, in a little over 4,000 minutes with both Franz Wagner and Paolo on the court together, the Magic only have a plus 9.8 net rating. Now, compare that when Paolo's on the court and Franz is off it, their rating is minus 9.6. And then with Franz on the court and Paolo off it, their rating is plus 8.7. That's what, a 17-point swing?
Yeah, that's bad.
That's not very good. And if you look at their offensive and defensive ratings, they flip by 9 points on each side. So I know that a lot of time there's stats out there regarding stars where it's oh, is this team actually better without their, best player? And rarely is the answer actually yes. In fact, it's almost always no, but it's also reflective in their record this year. I mean, they're 19-15 in games Paolo doesn't play, and they're 11-21 in games he has played.
Yeah, there's still questions about whether him and Franz are good fits together on the basketball court. Even going back to the end of last season, people, despite their success, had those questions. And you look at the box scores, you're Paolo, he's got 43, he's dropping 41, 34. And then you see a whole ton of losses.
Yeah.
So you do at least have to ask the question. Now on to Phoenix. We're not going to go too in-depth on them because we probably got a video coming out here soon talking about just the whole failure of this team. During the preseason, they were tied with Cleveland for the 9th highest win-loss projection, 48.5. Basically what they had last year, so it didn't seem too crazy. The Suns were still a pretty good team last year. It didn't really feel like that because they massively underperformed, but they were a pretty solid team. They definitely weren't seen as a title contender like we expected them to be last season, but you at least thought they would have been over 500.
I don't think their biggest hater would have predicted they'd be under 500.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did. They bring in Budenholzer. That was seen as a good hire, defensive guy. Could be an upgrade over Frank Vogel. Budenholzer recently had won a title, was seen as a very good head coach. There's been some ridiculous things with him and Book reports recently, but it was seen as a good hire, and it's easy to forget now. At one point, they were 8-1, tied with OKC for the second best record in the West, and everyone was saying, oh, they just needed a point guard. apart. Like,
Yeah.
they just had to bring in Tyus Jones. He's facilitating. Everything's working now.
It's all fallen apart since then, though. I mean, we're recording this, pretty early, but there are still 1.5 games out of the 10th seed. And provided Dallas keeps falling apart, I mean, Dallas at a certain point is probably gonna have to start forfeiting games.
Yeah, there was that report that
Yeah.
they might have to. They might be doing that by the time this video comes out.
With how few players they got. So I guess Phoenix is hoping Dallas starts doing that. I mean, if Wemby and Fox weren't out, the Spurs would definitely still be breathing down their neck. Hell, the Blazers are like 3 games behind them, and we're on a 5-game losing streak. Like,
swung his body to the side.
their offense, considering they've got Booker and Durant still, pretty underwhelming. Defense, bottom 5 in the league. Bench, 6th worst in the league. I mean, they've tried things to fix their issues. Like, they tried bringing Bradley Beal off the bench. That had mixed results. They tried to take a big swing at the trade deadline for Jimmy Butler. Couldn't make it work out because of Beal's no trade clause. So they just ended up trading Nurk to Charlotte, which, fascinatingly enough, has made them significantly worse. Like, there's 6 games. They were like right around 500 at the trade deadline, and now they're like 6 games under 500. So they've gotten worse since trading away Nurk. Honestly, just crazy to think that 3 years ago, this team won 64 games. Best record in the league by far that year.
Yeah, and things aren't getting better. Probably going to trade Durant this offseason. They'll get some assets back for that, but you don't have control of your first-round pick till 2032, and even then, they can't trade the pick because of the second apron.
Yep.
So they flew too close to the sun, and they got burnt. That's what happened.
And finally, the team that's by far the biggest disappointment in the NBA. I mean, I guess you could say Dallas is a bigger disappointment if you really want to, but if we exclude teams that made a franchise-crippling midseason trade, biggest disappointment is Philadelphia. Now, the Sixers were coming off a 47-win season, first-round loss to the Knicks, but Embiid missed half the season with injuries and, apparently got healthy over the summer, healthy enough to play with Team USA. In the offseason, signed Paul George to a 4-year, $211 million contract. They had a win-loss over-under of 50.5, 6th highest in the NBA, and, their big 3 was seemingly a good fit. Like, you got your combo guard in Maxey, you got your two-way wing in Paul George, you got your dominant big in Embiid. We were a little bit more skeptical. Like, I think you gave the Paul George signing a B-, I gave it a B. All the typical concerns about, no depth, injuries. Still thought this team was going to be, solidly the 4th best team in the East, competing with Milwaukee and maybe Cleveland for that spot. Started the season 2-12, though, and it has been all downhill since then.
I mean, they've never been above 500 the entire season. Sometimes with these failed super teams, you start slow, you pick it up late in the season, you eke over 500.
That's most of them, honestly.
Yeah, it is never above 500. Just like Orlando, though, the Sixers have been destroyed by injuries. Tyrese Maxey, he's missed 16 games. Paul George, 27, he's now out for the season. Jared McCain, one of the few bright spots, was having a great rookie season. The early favorite for Rookie of the Year, he went out after only playing 23 games, and then the big one, Embiid plays 19. That one is scary because he's probably headed towards another knee surgery. But even when the stars have played, everyone's been healthy, your big 3s together, I mean, they just really haven't looked good. Maxey's shooting percentages are down. Jared McCain, he was the bright spot, but of course, like I mentioned, he got injured. And Embiid and Paul George specifically, they have been big disappointments.
Yeah, I mean, Embiid just looks like a shell of his MVP self. I mean, his scoring is down by nearly 10 points from his MVP year and over 11 points from last season. Rebounds down by almost 3 a game, shooting percentages plummeting, and even just watching him move around on the court, it looks like he was just struggling to move. It looked like he wasn't fully back from whatever knee injury is ailing him. And Paul George, I mean, only gonna end up playing 41 games this season. He's now done for the year. Stats, again, plummeting across the board. Scoring and shooting were at their lowest point since his 2nd year in the league when he was just a role player for Indiana. And apparently after just 1 season, the Sixers are already looking to trade him, when with that salary and how many years are left, I mean, I think there's a chance you could find someone to be like, oh, I can fix him, right? It was 1 bad year, I can get him in the lab and I can fix him, but I think most people are going to be like, get that albatross contract away from us.
Yeah, I think so as well. Only saving graces, as mentioned, Jared McCain. If he comes back healthy, he looks like a bright spot, and then they swindled the Mavericks to get Quentin Grimes. They do have control over most of their picks moving forward. 2025 this season, they do owe that pick to the Thunder, year. We'll see if they keep it. They have the 5th worst record in the league at the time. It's protected top 6, so that's coming down to the wire. It's going to be close whether they keep it or not. Most of the picks they still have, and they do have some coming from the Clippers later on for the Harden deal, but you got a ton of money tied up to Embiid, a ton of money tied up to Paul George, 2 aging, injury-prone stars. We're getting to the point where they might just have to give up on Embiid and the Embiid era. I mean, it already hasn't produced much results, but
hasn't even produced a conference finals yet.
Yeah, it's not looking good moving forward either. Now on to some good surprises, the Houston Rockets, and we'll keep this part brief, mainly just for the sake of Rockets fans, because last time we made a video about them, they went on to lose 6 straight games, and they're crushing it right now.
What's funny about that 6-game losing streak? Someone posted that on their subreddit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's 6 since this video came out.
It's so fun. Well, right now, at the time of this recording, we'll try not to jinx it. We probably will. They're on a 7-game win streak. They're right in the mix of the 2nd seed with Denver. I mean, Ime Udoka proves that he is a great coach when he's focused on actually coaching. The roster itself goes like 8-9 deep, and they have some veterans, Van Vliet, Jeff Green, Steven Adams. Like, they got a real nice mix of the young guys, you know, giving you some star power, some energy, and then the veterans to keep everyone in line and, you know, provide that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I still probably don't trust them in the playoffs, especially if they're going against like a Minnesota or a Golden State in the first round, especially because if it's like a 2-7 or even a 3-6, like, because of how tightly packed the West is, that's probably only like a 4 to 5 game difference. There's probably only going to be like a 4 to 5 game difference in record, so it's not that much of a mismatch. And I think the Rockets, like, they're a year away from being a real threat. I think they could win a round this year, but, you know, depending on what they do, I could see them being big game hunters this offseason, which if they decide to go that route, I'm just going to say, like, be careful. Like, if Devin Booker comes available, maybe see if you can get him for a decent price. But I mean, we have seen what has happened when teams mortgage the farm for a star level player and it ends up coming back to bite them. Hell, we saw it with the Suns with Durant and Beal. So Houston, you got a good thing going this offseason. If you decide to go looking for a star, just tread lightly. Now down to LA for the Clippers. Like, I know the biggest story in the league right now is the Lakers, obviously, with Luka, and some might have expected them to be on this list. And like, yeah, the Luka trade, we mentioned it earlier. It's the most shocking thing I've ever seen personally. But, you know, prior to that, they were 27-19, 5th seed in the West. Honestly, that sounds pretty in line with, I think, what most people expected from the Lakers this year. The Clippers, on the other hand, their preseason over-under was 35.5, and they're already at 38 wins.
I honestly cannot believe what the Clippers did. When we got the news that Kawhi was going to be out indefinitely, it felt like, you know, the Thunder getting another lottery pick.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like they were going to be, you know, at best sneak into the play-in. But big shout out to James Harden, the season he's having. James Harden almost feels like he's cursed. Like, he goes to the Nets because he wants to be like this facilitator, you know, third option. And then Kyrie has the vaccine thing. Katie gets injured. Now he's the first option. Then he goes to the 76ers, has to deal with Embiid's injuries, and he's like the first option. Then he goes to the Clippers, who have Kawhi, they have Paul George, they have Westbrook, and some of those guys leave, and then Kawhi's injured. He's the first option once again. He's almost 36, and the dude is still like dropping 50 and being this offensive engine. Just incredible. And then you got Norman Powell as well, having this breakout season. Both those guys deserve massive shout-outs.
Yeah, even like Zubac, like 16 points, 12.5 boards a game.
Yeah,
like,
career year.
Amazing year. Like, Norman Powell, he's increased his scoring by like 10 points a game.
Yeah.
And everyone gave him so much shit for that, like, addition by subtraction. I'm sure I probably texted you about it, like, when we first saw it. It's like, what the f is this idiot on about? Like, he was 100% right. Fucking spot on.
Yeah.
Top 5 defense in the league. And even with Kawhi coming back and being like, fine, you know, it seems like he's still trying to figure out what his role with this team is. But like, I mean, they got depth, they got length on the defensive end, they spread the wealth on offense. They're not a big threat in the playoffs, but they have big time overachieved this year.
Yeah, at least they're dangerous. Kawhi, he's picking it up, you know, slowly. He's been more consistent. And with Kawhi in the playoffs, you know, a single game, a couple games, Harden there, they're at least a dangerous team. Now the Cavs, the surprise we all know about. It kind of felt like going into this season, they were at like a crossroads. You know, you go out to Boston the second round, that's nothing to be ashamed of, but they have this young team on the rise, you know, making it farther in the playoffs, winning the playoff series. I think it was their first playoff series win without LeBron since 1993. So like good things going for you. And then the vibes apparently were just off, and we found out everyone hated each other. At least like that's the reports that came out at the time. The players didn't like JB Bickerstaff. Some players were mad at Jared Allen for not playing. You had Garland and especially Donovan Mitchell were floated in trade rumors, that Mitchell to the Knicks rumor that seemed to go on for the past like 2 years. But the Cavs avoided all that. They had an excellent offseason. You bring in Kenny Atkinson. He was a guy talked about for years. This is a guy that could potentially get a head coaching job. Then over the next month, you signed Donovan Mitchell to an extension. Mobley, Jared Allen, they all get extensions. Didn't make any big additions, but you re-signed.
Didn't make any additions at all, actually.
Yeah, but then you re-signed those guys. You bring in Kenny Atkinson. I guess that was the addition they needed, and everything has worked out.
Yeah, even still, like going to the year, I think we saw them like, you know, 3rd to 5th seed, somewhere in there, battling it out with like Milwaukee and probably Philly. I mean, hell, I said in our preseason predictions video, I said 2nd round ceiling right after taking a pot shot at Ohio State, which I'm so fucking stupid.
Yeah,
and me and my big fucking mouth. Like,
had to open it.
God damn it. Also, not that it's important, it's just funny in hindsight. They went 0-4 in the preseason.
I'm shocked to hear that. That's so weird.
This happens every once in a while. Like a team goes like terrible in the preseason and there's like a little bit of concern, like, oh, what's going on? Well, a 15-game winning streak tying the 2nd best start in NBA history, that'll alleviate any worries you got. And they have just not looked back since then. 56-11 at the time of recording. Best record in the league, slightly ahead of the Thunder. Just recently had a franchise record 16-game winning streak. Best offense in the league, top 5 defense. Like you mentioned, Kenny Atkinson, shoo-in for coach of the year at this point. Mitchell's scoring is down a little bit, but Darius Garland and Mobley have both increased their scoring output. They got switchable defenders. They're 8 to 9 players deep. They traded for DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline. It still feels like a lot of people aren't really sold on Cleveland. Like they kind of feel like Boston last year. Like people don't really view Mitchell as like, you know, a superstar or anything. And also they just haven't been there in the playoffs yet. Like they've never been past the 2nd round. But like I tell you, they're my pick in the East. And everyone keeps talking. Everyone keeps talking about this Lakers Celtics finals as like the dream finals this year. Nah, it's Lakers Cavs.
Oh,
LeBron going back to Cleveland to play them in the NBA finals. Tell me that's not the best like final chapter for the eventual LeBron documentary we're gonna get.
Okay, that'd go pretty hard. That would be incredible. I'd love to see it personally. I still like the Celtics out east, but Celtics, Cavs, Eastern Conference Finals, that would be cinema as well. So regardless, we're gonna be eating good.
And finally, the Detroit Pistons. Like, I don't know if I can put into words how impressed I am with the Pistons this year. Like, maybe it's just because in my time as a fan, I've never actually seen the Pistons be anything but terrible. Like, my first year watching was 08-09. So basically right when that, you know, 2000s Pistons core was on their way out. Like, since I've been watching, they haven't won a single playoff game. They've made it a couple times, but they've gotten swept every time. And after winning 14 games last year, I was like, why is this year gonna be any different? Hell, I picked them to get the 5th seed again because I was like, they're gonna suck again. And they've only been the most overperforming team in the entire NBA.
Yeah, it's weird because I started watching basketball a couple years before you, and the Pistons were the best team in the East. They were one of the best teams in the league. So it's been a long time since I've seen the Pistons be really good again, and they're not quite there, but 38-31 at the time of this recording. Like you said, the most overperforming team in the NBA. I mean, their over-under total was 25.5, and it's crazy. They're approaching like already 40 wins, and we still got basically a month left in the season, and we got to get the Blazers mentioned. You didn't think it was going to happen. The 2nd most overperforming team right now, at least, the Portland Trailblazers. How about that, baby?
Yes, sir. And like in the offseason, a lot of fans, I feel like, kind of mocked Detroit for some of their moves. Like, you know, you bring in Malik Beasley a couple years after he had just refused to hit threes for the Lakers. You know, you give a bunch of money to Tobias Harris. Somehow he keeps getting these big contracts. That's always been the meme with him. And then you bring in like Tim Hardaway Jr., who apparently left Dallas Dallas because he was upset Luka controlled the ball too much, which not exactly the best reason to want out of a team, right? I hate to agree with like what Patrick Beverly said, but Beverly was basically just like, yo, get your ass in the corner.
Exactly.
And Luka will find you for open shots. I mean, they're not world beaters or anything, but considering Detroit had one of the worst offenses in the league last year, they've just been some pretty consistent scores, and that's really what they needed to take pressure off of Cade Cunningham. And I mean, what a year Cade has had. I mean, your guy, you've always been high on him. Going into the season, I was a little worried because I was like, this is his 4th year in the league, and every season of his career, the Pistons have gotten worse. Like 23 wins his rookie year, 17 sophomore, 14 junior. So I'm like, we're going the wrong way here, right? We're going downhill. So I was a little worried, but he's been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, I understand that. That's valid, but like actually watching them, like it was never Cade's fault, and their success, it's not just because of him. Like it's a team effort, but like a lot of it is because of him. Career high 25 points a night, nearly 10 assists, makes the all-star team for the first time. He's gonna win most improved player. I'm sure a lot of people think it should be like Norman Powell, or, you know, a guy that's not like this all-star, like a former #1 overall pick.
Like a Dyson Daniels.
Right, Dyson Daniels, that'd be another fair shout. Like, and I mostly agree with that, but at the same time, he has really elevated his game. And if it wasn't for Kenny Atkinson leading the Cavs to one of the best records ever, JB Bickerstaff would be coach of the year. It's just like, that's just a fact. And like, that is a testament to who he is as a coach, where it doesn't work with the Cavs. Dude goes over to Detroit and it's working beautifully there. So what's even more impressive about this, Jaden Ivey broke his fibula in January, had surgery. He may be coming back here before the season ends, and they're doing this all without him. So crazy that they've been this good. They could still get home court, which is
nuts.
Insane. Like, oh my God, Detroit would be rocking for home court. I want that so bad. I'm so happy they have their identity back. Like the Pistons have always been good. When they don't fuck around, they stand on business, and they're back to that. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get a tough out in the first round. Probably going to get one of either the Knicks, Bucks, or Pacers. Honestly, all 3 of those series just sound like so much fun. We were weirdly looking this up like before we started recording. Knicks and Pistons feels like a series that should have more history between them, but they've only met in the playoffs 3 times. But still, New York versus Detroit, that sounds like a lot of fun. Detroit versus Milwaukee, you know, nice little Midwest rivalry there. And of course, Indiana versus Detroit. All the history in the world from the mid-2000s. To see those teams go at it in the playoffs again, those fan bases go at it, that's the matchup I'm rooting for to see the most. And Pistons, they're going to have a chance to pick up their first playoff win, get this, since Bush was still in office. Obama wasn't even in office yet.
Holy shit.
Their last playoff win was Game 6 of the 2008 Eastern Conference Finals. And if you had told me that was a possibility before this season, honestly, I probably would have laughed in your face.
Guarantee you there's multiple people watching this video that weren't even alive
Yeah.
when they got their last playoff win.
That's the video, guys. What do you think has been the biggest surprise of the NBA season? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.